Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Friday Connect session. We are so excited and we are super privileged to have an executive chef today. His name is Francois Agenbach, and we'll be asking him some fun and interesting questions around what he does and why he does what he does. I am 𝗙𝗶𝗱𝘆. I am the head biscuit for GingerBiscuit, and I will ask my head ginger, Lisa, to introduce herself. Lisa, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Jade, and as 𝗙𝗶𝗊𝘆 has just said, I am the founder and head ginger of GingerBiscuit, and looking really forward to hearing what comes out of today's session in relation to food and how that is related and tied into sustainability.
Nice. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so without further ado, may I please introduce to you our speaker for today, Executive Chef Francois Agenbach. Francois, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, 𝗙𝗶𝗊𝘆 and Lisa. My name is Francois Agenbach. I'm an executive chef. I've been around the industry for some years, and I am very excited to be discussing the topic of sustainability within food services.
Nice. So now I am curious, how exactly do you even get into the field you're in, and why is it that you decided to do that specifically?
Well, I became a chef from a very interesting perspective, but that's a story for another time. I developed an early passion for food and food design, and spent some time learning all across different sectors of the industry. And the last couple of years started focusing on the sustainability within the food industry and understanding how that fits in and how that complements and enhances the guest and host experiences.
Very good, very nice. I don't know, I'm seeing that there's a bit of a lag somewhere, but everyone, we deal with it. This is our life now. We just keep rolling with the punches. I'm gonna ask Lisa to take the next section of questions for us. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you so much, 𝗙𝗶𝗊𝘆. Francois, I've had the privilege of attending an event that you catered for, and I've got to be honest with you, that event and that menu in particular has stuck by me throughout the years. And it was just so beautifully put together, and there was real thought and creativity in it. It wasn't just your standard sort of menu. And it related a lot to brain food and how you used food in order to keep people engaged in the sessions that were taking place over that day. So very often in the events industry, we kind of put food like not at a back burner, but we understand the importance of it, but we don't go into that much detail. So in your opinion, why is food so often overlooked, and why haven't people gotten as creative as they should with it? And why don't they realize the impact that food actually has on people and on an event and in people's daily lives?
Wow, well, that's a loaded question, and that's probably about a conference all on its own. But to sum it up in short and keep it sweet, I've always felt that food in general is treated as an afterthought, as a basic sustenance. And over time, I've realized that the contribution that food offers to events, individuals, environments is far larger, and the impact is a lot more far-reaching than we acknowledge. And unfortunately, it is typical of the industry to treat it as long as there's something to eat that people could like, and as long as I'm happy with the basics of it, it's okay. I've developed a love and a passion for understanding how people respond to food in different environments, and using that as a basis to design menus and develop recipes that enhance each individual's experience, but also serves to improve the overall experience and reach the directives and goals of each event, be it social, business, collaborative. Everything has a purpose. Superfoods play a massive role in it. And interestingly enough, the more I started looking into the sustainability of using food as a educational extension, I discovered how all of these fit into sustainability. And when we apply this properly and let our minds absorb the potential of healthy eating without making it restrictive, without making it tasteless, without making it bland in appearance, the more we engage that and the more we educate guests, hosts, customers, and clients of the benefits, first of all, and second of all, presented in such a way that it attracts, as opposed to people looking at it and saying, I'm not eating leaves for lunch, I'm sorry, can I get something with sustenance? The reality is combinations of items actually give us a much better value. And for that specific reason, I think it's overlooked because no one, well, very few, let me not say no one, that's a tad arrogant, but few people actually consider using food as an extension of their events or social gatherings or business gatherings. And I think once we open the plethora of opportunities and flavors and availability within that environment, and we present that in a way that is aesthetically pleasing, I am hoping by doing something like that, we could literally make a change that is has a 360-degree impact, as opposed to just a singular, let's get people fed and happy, because if they're fed and happy, we can work with them. That is my point of view and my approach.
May I ask you a question, just following on what you've just said? Obviously, food is about being creative and creating something, like you said, which is visually pleasing, and which also tastes good in the process. And as I'm listening to you just talk about the different options that you're passionate about, it's clear that you're quite innovative in your approach, specific to how you put everything together. I'm just curious, did you study? Obviously, for you to be where you are, you had to have had some sort of education around that. But I suppose I'm asking you deeper your background in how you got to where you are. Not only is it, I realize it's not only studying, but you needed to be innovative yourself. You know, you needed to take extra initiative and be innovative. So how did that happen? Can you just talk us through that process?
I think being a chef is compared to and very closely relating to being an artist. And just as some artists go through formal schooling and they present pieces that are majestic, and other artists are just naturally born with a skill and a passion to do it, and they perform and they get it out there. I started off studying for hospitality management and a culinary diploma. And at that same point, I was actually fully employed at that time, and it became a bit of a challenge. So I never completed my studies. To this day, there's still things that I would still like to study, but what I did learn and what I did discover is a lot to do with my personality of looking at things and analyzing them and trying to figure and find a unique way in serving it, a different way in serving it, finding solutions to challenges that a lot of people overlook. And one of those, just as an example, came when people said, but is it valid to start to host conferences and events and business meetings longer than 2 days? Because at day 2, people are tired and they're spent and they don't really take anything in. And I thought, but that's a challenge. How can I assist the organizer in correcting that, in improving that, so that the 2-day and the 3-day and the 5-day events are equally as effective, with the same amount of impact and with the same end result as intended? How can I do that just by looking at a food perspective? And that's one aspect. I think there's such a wide range of things that we can do to improve, but just focusing on food, I started looking into how do I stop the attendee from being exhausted after day 1. Is there something I can do? Is there something I can implement? Is there something I can present that slows the energy consumption, that actually reduces the amount of energy that people have to use just to stay awake and stay alert? And not having formal studies, Google is your friend, everyone says. So Google and I became great mates. We've been having some interesting conversations and some good chit chats and some sharing of ideas. I don't always agree with what he sends out, but I mean, we can't win everything. So taking as much information as I can and putting that together in an offering or a presentation of sorts that changes the modus operandi of how things are to what they can be. And right now, being brutally honest, I believe from my perspective, I'm just scratching the surface. There's such a possibility in terms of power of food and presenting it in such a way that what I love doing is putting something down in front of you and making you doubt whether it's healthy or not. Because when you doubt and it is healthy, I win. Because the doubt tells you, you can just do this. It's okay. This is good food. I like this. Your mind is not blocking it from saying, oh, this is healthy. Maybe it's not going to taste too good. I'm not into this. But the moment you have that little bit of doubt and you want to experiment with what's in front of you, I win. And you win. Because once you've consumed it, the process starts. The biology sets in, and the benefits you reap without being made aware of it, without it being a focus from the attendee, the guest or the client's observation and perspective.
Wow. Francois, you know, like, now I know what you were doing at that event with that menu, because I mean, I saw chocolate mousse there and I was like, there's going to be sugar in it. It's going to make me feel tired, all those sorts of things. And when I actually, you showcased what the ingredients were used, and there was no sugar in it. It was made from like avocado, and it was the best chocolate mousse I've ever tasted in my life. So listening to you say this, it's absolutely incredible what we can do. And that's the thing with events, is when we are hosting an event, we are giving people an experience, and food has to be part of that experience to take people on that journey. It's a fundamental aspect, actually. And I love what you're doing. It's inspiring. And I think one of the reasons that you have been able to innovate so much is because you weren't blocked by anything. You were just like, let me do this. And I can relate to you on a lot of levels with that, but that's a conversation for another day, like you said. So my next question is now, we're looking at food, and from a sustainability perspective, we do focus a lot on food and how it's grown and the impact that it has. So we're seeing a rise in your plant-based diets, also sourcing local ingredients, minimizing food waste as well, because I mean, most people don't know the damage that food waste actually does to the environment when it's literally just sent to landfill. You've got the release of various greenhouse gases, etc. So if you could just maybe speak to us a bit about that sort of space of food that you work with, including things like the packaging, introducing more plant-based options, and what you feel about that sort of aspect of sustainability in food.
So this is a very thank you, Lisa. This is a very challenging field for me because I was born in Namibia. So being a Namibian, vegetables for me was chicken and pork. And eating healthy meant you had more chicken than pork, basically. So wrapping my mind around how do we go healthier and tastier than what is out there, because that is the attraction. If we can present something that is healthier and sustainable, not just for the cost factor, the economical factor, not just for the environmental factor, also including the individual factor. There's so much unattended or a lack of attention in most instances looking at plant-based diets. And if we look at the food industry internationally, plant-based diet is the fastest growing sector in the industry right now, alongside veganism and vegetarianism. And I found out a nice new one that apparently comes in now, which basically says you're a vegetarian until you feel like having a piece of meat.
It's a flexitarian.
Flexitarian. Yeah, I was quite fascinated. I thought maybe I could try that. Maybe I should try that.
Yeah.
I tried the vegetarianism thing, and I didn't do too great on it. But that's personal, and I think that has driven me to understand what it is that, first of all, the typical South African is a meat eater. Meat is a great part of our environment. Understanding the impact that just meat production has on the environment, on sustainability. At some point, there's a tipping scale, or the scale is going to tip, and the supply is not going to meet the demand. How do we prevent reaching that point? I think introducing items that are focused on plant-based diets without overpowering the host and guest experience is where the balance is, which is what we should be looking at. We should be looking at how do we increase sustainable growth, something that we can grow in our own environment, in the microeconomy, in the macroeconomy. How do we apply those recipes, food items in such a fashion that we are actually contributing towards reducing the energy consumption, overall energy consumption, which would be a massive boost to sustainability, which would be a great impact on ensuring the future for all of us in all aspects of hospitality and life in general. So food-based diet is something that, or plant-based diet is something that I am making a very concerted attempt in acquiring the necessary skills and understanding of it. There's a chemistry involved that fascinates me. And just that fascination drives me to see, but if this is how a certain ingredient responds, what else can I do with it? How can I else implement this in such a way that the end user looks at it, finds it attractive? And again, I think playing mind games, having something that is representative of what they are familiar with, but comes from an origin that is healthier and more sustainable for them is the goal. That's the target. It's challenging because I don't think a lot of the local market is ready for it. It's also challenging because there's more of the local market ready for it than what we acknowledge. And not affording them that opportunity and that offering is actually very restrictive, and we are actually slowing down the progression. So from my perspective, in my average day-to-day functionality and in my personal life, it is something that I need to give the necessary attention and focus to, and I'm spending a significant amount of time researching that approach.
Francois, you know, as you're talking, there's one thing that you touched on, which is constantly learning, constantly getting new skills and just upskilling yourself, which is quite important to both Lisa and myself. We realize that we'll never ever get to a stage where we're like, we know it all. So for us, constantly educating ourselves is one of the key things that it's one of our values, our key values for the organization. And I think as we were talking just about what we would want to talk to you about, one of the things that came up was, how do you find that balance, especially as we go towards the festive season? How do you find that balance as 𝗙𝗵 between being health conscious and making sure that you are as healthy as you possibly can, but also have the fun that comes with just kind of being, you know, in that festive season kind of mood and vibe, because it's a time where you spend with family, friends, and you do tend to indulge or overindulge. So how can a person find that balance? And I think that's just, there aren't any right or wrong answers. It's just possibly just advice from your point of view.
I think we need to ban the term health conscious. I think there's such a negative connotation to it that the moment people hear health conscious, they see, I'm now going to eat carrots and celery and lettuce and a couple of apples every day, and that's going to be my lunch, and all I'm going to have is nuts for protein. And that's sadly not the reality. I think what we need to look at and what we need to start considering is calling it focused dining. Looking at why do I eat? Why am I eating? Am I eating because I'm hungry? Why am I hungry? What do I feel like? I feel like something salty, which 90% means your body is actually looking for liquid. It needs fluid. We need to get some water in. And I think going into the festive season, if I were to give any form of advice, is listen to your body. If your body's not hungry, don't eat. If your body is craving salty things, grab something, H2O, get some water in your body, try and avoid fizzy drinks and that sort of thing. And it's tough. I mean, it's a season where we all want to have fun, but there's so much we can do to spice things up and make it more fun. Understanding that whatever we are doing during December is going to carry us for a large portion of the first quarter of the year. So overindulging is only going to drag you down in January and February, and it's going to have a mental impact on you, because now I've overindulged. Now I need to do something in January and February so that I feel better and look better and run to the gym. And everyone has all these lovely New Year's resolutions based on what they mentally feel due to what they consumed over the whole of December. Now, honestly speaking, does that mean that I am now going to be an extreme vegan, vegetarian for the whole of December? Very likely not. But when I do eat, I'm going to eat in moderation. I'm going to understand that there are food groups out there among the superfoods that has a lasting benefit to me. And systematically including these items in our diets, you are going to start feeling better. You're going to start looking better. And because you feel better, you're going to want to keep feeling better. So change the unhealthy habits to healthy habits by having fun with food, experimenting with it, having different flavors, trying different things. Maybe a couple of months ago, if I were to tell someone one of the healthiest things you can eat as a snack is a celery stick with some peanut butter on, they would go, "You're nuts." Interestingly enough, it's spicy, it's peppery, it's nutty, it's buttery. It's got all the flavors that we generally crave in one little bite. And the health benefits to one little bite like that as a snack, as opposed to a packet of crisps, is phenomenal. Stop eating crisps. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, do it in moderation. Understand that the saying that we've all heard so many times of "you are what you eat" is actually a lot more accurate than what we give it credit for. Our body can only function with the nutrients that we afford it and that we give it. And if we don't give it sufficient nutrients, it's going to look for it in other areas. It's going to try and find it somewhere else. If it's not getting enough calcium, it's going to take it out of your bone structure, your skeletal structure. If you're not getting enough fats, it's going to take it out of your brain because it wants fatty foods. There's items that we need. And if we have to go into the science of food, which I absolutely fall in love with over the last couple of years, that's a discussion that would need a significant amount of time. But basically, focus the festive season on having fun in moderation and understanding that whatever you're doing in December is how you're going to be starting in January and February.
Before I hand over to Lisa, sorry, can we expect a book? Can we please do us that favor and give us a book?
Yes, we need a book.
That's all I'm asking for.
I feel like podcasts.
It is something that I am working on. I'm a chef. I'm not a writer. It's not something that I've ever really given much thought to. But the reality is, the more I get to engage on this and the more I get to interact with this as a meat lover, as someone who loves fatty foods and rich foods and fizzy drinks and craft beer and homemade gins, and I love those things because they're authentic in my view. Trying to discover the authenticity in a balanced lifestyle has given me more joy and drive than anything else I've done in my nearly 28-year career.
Tubbs, I'm going to jump in if that's okay. My brain is going now. Sure, it's incredible that you use the word authentic as well. And I feel the other word that comes to mind is balance. Because so often when people hear about things like plant-based diets and your veganism, your vegetarianism, et cetera, like you have just said, is you're a meat lover yourself, and that's the way you function. And within South African culture, meat is deeply, deeply ingrained. So, you know, even balancing something out, like swapping out a couple of meals a week or whatever the case is, or 1 or 2 meals a week, and even over the festive season, giving your body that break and some really amazing superfoods or plant-based foods or whatever the case is, just to strike that sort of balance. So it's not about going to the extreme and absolutely cutting everything out that people can do to make a difference. You know, if everybody that ate meat, for example, switched out 1 or 2 meals a week with a vegetarian alternative that is delicious and creative and fun and beautiful, like you've said, with the food that you look at creating and designing, that could have a massive impact on the environment then. So I'm hearing you correctly in saying that.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is really getting to me and challenging me as an individual is, we're in this pandemic, we're in this stage of life where people are stressed, people are uncertain, there's uncertainty as to what is happening in the next 6 months, what's going to happen in the next 12, 18, the next 5 years. what impact is this pandemic going to have? And for me, I think the one thing that this pandemic has brought to my attention and pushed to the fore of my mind is sustainability is the one thing that right now we should all be focused on. It is the last thing we should be pushing to the background. It is the very first thing on any agenda for any business right now, is determining their business sustainability, and not just from a financial perspective, not just looking at, are we going to make enough money? Are we going to have enough to pay the staff? That is not the focus. The focus is, how do we continue and improve our business and the sustainability within our business to withstand the impacts of pandemics like this? Because this pandemic, whether people like it or not, has had a massive impact on the hospitality industry, on economies, on individuals, and just on the way that we function. And it is a lasting impact. It's not something that's just going to go away. But we choose how that impact influences us going forward. We determine where we go to with this. And my view is, focusing on sustainability is the primary goal, and should be the primary goal for any business right now. It is the last thing you should not be spending money on. It is the very first thing that you should be focusing on and spending money on. If you want to look at your business, and I take the food industry because that's my passion, that's where I come from, but this applies to all businesses. The sustainability of your business is the only thing that will prevent your business from having a similar impact as what COVID-19 has afforded many people. Many people look at it negatively. Personally, from the very first moment, I was one of the people to say, there is a lot more positive going to come out of this pandemic than negative. Yes, there is going to be negative. There's going to be loss of life. There's going to be financial impact. There's going to be businesses that are that find themselves in that space of not being sustainable. And I think what COVID has shown us is that sustainability is the foundation of your business, not the cherry on top.
Oh, sorry, that's like that. Yes, that's like, you get it. You can see 𝗙𝗵𝗄's like also having a moment there. And you know, what you've touched on is so poignant. And even if we look at something like food, because we know that sustainability has the 3 pillars, it's your environmental, social, and economic, right? So even if you look at something like food, and you look at the environmental impact that food has, the social impact that food has, as well as the economic impact that food has, all businesses, like you've said, we're not separate from this. We are part of this, and sustainability is like, yes, it gives that foundation to function in a sustainable manner that is long lasting and that protects life. And I'm talking about human life as well, you know, like poverty alleviation, equality, gender equality, education, healthcare, all of those sorts of things. They're all tied into each other. So as soon as businesses start realizing that that foundation, like you said, and that's why I'm like, this is amazing. It needs to be there. And that is, that's also why 𝗙𝗵𝗄 and myself asked you to come on today in terms of speaking about food and speaking about sustainability, because it's showing how you get it and how it can be used in the different places. So it's what you have just said has just made my whole, it's made my year actually. So thank you.
I'm excited to see there are chefs out there, Chef 𝗙𝗶𝗆𝗆, who started a program where reusing food waste or associated food waste in creating new meals, in feeding less fortunate, has become such a great movement. There are chefs out there that feel like I do, and look at things like I do. And I think, I hope, and I trust that as time progresses, chefs will realize that the impact that we can have on life, the environment, and people is far more than putting a nice little leaf with a tweezer on a plate to create a photo moment. We can change opinions, we can change minds, we can change lives simply by saying, what else can I do? How can I make you feel better? And by making you feel better, you have a better impact on the environment around you. With you having a better impact on the environment around you, the environment has a better impact on everyone else associated with it. There's a circle within that we play a crucial link in. And I think it's time for the chefs, the food experts, the culinary experts to stand up and be counted, as opposed to just thinking that we are only there for entertainment value.
That is so beautiful. That is really, really beautiful. You know, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be back. This is not the end for him. He thinks this is it. Lisa, I don't know, but before I close,
No,
I just want to give. Are you good? I know, right?
I know. It's like,
I also don't want to mess it up.
No,
I also don't want to mess it up.
perfect.
I think what we can do, we can allow Chef Francois to say the last words before we
Yes.
close.
Just some closing thoughts, some wisdom around.
He's already dropped
this
bombs. He's
I know.
already dropped the bombs.
We've been sitting here, we've been like, oh, it's amazing.
I think I want to close in saying that I think it's time for venues, hosts, and guests to stop looking just at food as sustenance and start considering the impact it can have on, first of all, their experience, second of all, their life, and start giving it the due credit and focus it deserves. The longer we continue to take something as crucial as food, which makes up more than 60% of the average hospitality budget for events, business meetings, and the likes. The moment we start applying food as an extension of us, not just something that happens on the run, our lives will improve, and we will be able to improve the lives of others simply by being at the forefront of changing how people look at food and food creation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
and
having
we'll
me.
definitely be seeing you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That was just,
Yeah.
the impact of food on our lives as people, the environment, everything. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Take care.
It was great. Have a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. And thanks.
I look forward to engaging with you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.